Senator, if former President Trump were to win, if you were to be his vice president, would you support him appointing a special prosecutor to go after his political enemies, the Bidens?
Well, first of all, Kristen, I find it interesting how much the media and the Democrats have lost their mind over this particular quote. Donald Trump is talking about appointing a special prosecutor to investigate Joe Biden for wrongdoing. Joe Biden has done exactly that for the last few years and has done far more in addition to that to engage in a campaign of lawfare against his political opposition. I think what Donald Trump is simply saying is we ought to investigate the prior administration. There are obviously many instances of wrongdoing. The House Oversight Committee has identified a number of corrupt business transactions that may or may not be criminal. Of course, you have to investigate to find out. So I think Donald Trump saying, look, let's do the basic work of investigating wrongdoing is a totally reasonable thing for him to do. And frankly, the Biden administration has done far worse. So if you think that what Donald Trump is proposing is a threat to democracy, isn't what Biden has already done a massive threat to our system of law and government?
Senator, just to be very clear, though, Joe Biden didn't appoint a special prosecutor. The Attorney General did that. Trump was indicted by grand juries. He was found guilty by a jury of his peers in New York. But can we just go back to the core question here? Would you support him taking such an action? It sounds like you're saying, yes, you would.
So, Casey Weinstein, you're an elected rep here in Ohio in our state house. You and I did, I feel like, everything we could to keep JD Vance from becoming our senator a couple of years ago. And this is exactly why. He's now auditioning to become Trump's vice president. I don't even know how to react to him at this point. He has become such a hypocrite. I mean, he's the guy who called Trump America's Hitler, who said he was cultural heroin. And now he is doing everything he can, bending the knee in desperation to become Trump's vice president. How do you respond to JD Vance, the JD Vance of today?
You know, it speaks a lot to the power that a handful of billionaires have in our, quote unquote democracy, because the reason JD Vance is in office is because of Peter Thiel, is this handpicked guy, for whatever reason. These Silicon Valley guys some of them get super rich and just super angry and about the world. Like, the richer they get, the more pissed off they get. Thiel dropped 8 figures into into backing JD Vance. He didn't raise a ton of money in his Senate campaign. That kept him alive and kept him afloat and got him to, the ultimate prize, which was the Trump endorsement, after which nothing really mattered. But yeah, I can't imagine being so soulless, so politically soulless, that you just, you have no core. I can't imagine how you look at your kids, like what his family thinks about what he is and what he's become, or like how you interact with your neighbors when you're out there throwing them under the bus every day. He lives in from what I hear, a very diverse, progressive area of the state. And I can't imagine having that lived experience and going and throwing them under the bus, for, a little bit more power. Can't imagine it.
I understood the JD Vance who wrote Hillbilly Elegy, who called Trump cultural heroin, compared him to Hitler. And a normal political observer would say those kinds of comments disqualify you from being that person's VP. But Trump has this weird affinity for people who do that U-turn, that character pivot. And he seems especially drawn to those who once criticized him, who he now has in his grip. I'm thinking about, Ted Cruz, who for a moment had a spine in calling him out at the Republican convention a few years ago. I'm talking about Marco Rubio and Lindsey Graham, all these supposed conservative stalwarts who stood up to Trump. And then there's JD Vance. And when they come back, Trump really embraces them. It's kind of weird.
When it comes to that kissing the ring sort of relationship that they have, one thing stood out to me in particular after the 2022 midterms, when Vance was elected, thanks to Peter Thiel and his $10 million plus of dark money. And the candidate du jour was Ron DeSantis, and a lot of Republicans started jumping ship. Vance doubled down on Trump at that time. And I thought that was the loyalty test and the opportunity that, Trump was looking for to say who was going to be with him after that drubbing that they took when, they were completely set up to do well in the midterms. But again, because of Trump, because of Roe v. Wade, they massively performed in the midterms, and some in the party were looking for a way out. And Vance brought them right back in. Clearly a condition of his endorsement of Vance was, you're going to be with me even if we get our asses kicked in this midterm. They did. He stuck with him. And I think that was the loyalty test. I'm just trying to put my Trump MAGA hat on. That's what he valued in that moment. Because the folks who went and jumped ship for DeSantis are dead to him now. He's going after them like Bob Good in Virginia. So I think that was that was the test. You stick with me. I'm going to endorse you. You're going to be a senator if you win, and you stay with me even if I appear to be a sinking ship. And Vance just doesn't care. Like, he just wanted to be in office, and he was willing to sign and say and do anything for that. And that's what he did.
What do you make of the Veep stakes that we're witnessing now? Just the groveling that is taking place. People who used to be respected by all sides of the political spectrum, the Tim Scotts of the world, and the lengths they're going to gain Trump's favor. And this latest Vance interview is a perfect example of that.
Politically, I don't understand it. I'm in a purple suburb, and people really, I hear over and over again, they want moderation. They want the median, to race toward the median voter, the classic, progressive, social progressive, economic conservative, fiscally, conservative voter. That's the median voter in my district, a very purple district that's actually historically red. There's more Republicans than Democrats in my district. And I don't understand the race to the extreme right. I don't understand the race to who can grovel to Trump the most, except to say that that's the party now. I mean, if you look at their policy platform, it's just a bunch of Trump tweets. It's literally a bunch of Trump tweets, I guess, or Trump truths. I don't know what those are, And so
Laura Trump. Yeah, I mean, that is their platform.
Yeah.
4 years ago, they literally didn't have a platform. Right. Now, the head of the RNC, as clear of a nepotistic favor as we've ever seen in politics, Trump's daughter-in-law has taken it over, totally unqualified, and has said the only priority of the RNC today is to get Trump reelected. Every dollar that comes in, every staff member that's hired, everything the RNC does is for the Don. And I'm using that intentionally because that's how a mafia operates.
He is the party.
Yeah.
Has been for a while. He's crushed dissent. This RNC phase was sort of the last stage of the takeover. And I mean, that's it. There is no Republican Party as you and I have known it. There's no party of Reagan. There's no party of Bush. Romney, McCain, these guys have no place in the party anymore. McCain in 2008. It's just him. And I got to give it to him. Like, he completely took it over. I mean, it's like they were just willing to give themselves over to him. You would think in politics they would want wins and victories in exchange, and all they've done is lose since 2016. I mean, everywhere. But they've completely given themselves over to him, his ultimate con. He took over a major political party in America. Got to hand it to him.
Hi, everyone. It's Ken Harbaugh, and I need to take a short break here to ask all of you watching and listening for a quick favor. I am starting my own YouTube channel at team_Harbaugh, where I'll be posting videos regularly, including bonus content. It's a great place to find both Burn the Boats and Against All Enemies episodes, including the full archive. That's going to take a while to upload, but it's all going to live there. I could really use your help growing the channel. Please consider subscribing today. The link is in the show notes, or just search for team_Harbaugh on YouTube. I Really appreciate the support. Everything we do here depends on you. Thanks so much. We are seeing signs of significant pushback overseas. At long last, the electoral results are reflecting this tide, this pushback against the extremism and the fascism. We saw that in France. We just saw that in the UK. Everywhere in Europe, in fact, except Hungary, this resistance to the extreme right is finally paying off at the ballot box. Do you think that's a sign for America and what we can expect in 24?
I'm really heartened by that. I'm really heartened by Project 2025 getting an airing. I mean,
Yes.
people across America don't like book bans. They like IVF. They like reproductive freedom. They like to be able to control, their own bodies. They like to be able to have privacy and make private decisions. They like Obamacare. They like the Veterans Administration. They like Social Security. They like Medicaid.
You're referring to things that are going to be slashed if Trump wins and Project 2025 is implemented.
Right. Which is essentially his entire team essentially their fingerprints are all over Project 2025. And when we move into a policy discussion, which they obviously don't want to have because their policy is just Trump and Trump tweets, when you move actually into policy and we start talking about that, it's wildly unpopular. So, we should make them defend those positions, make them defend cuts to the Veterans Administration. Why do you want to take disability compensation away from veterans? Why do you want to take IVF from people? Why do you want to censor the books that, why do you want to choose what books my kids can read? Like, why do you want to take healthcare away from a lot of my constituents? Why do you want to take away, fundamental rights of privacy and liberties and freedoms? Why do you want to censor and control our lives? Make them answer those questions. That's the policy they're signing up for. I'm very heartened by the fact that Project 2025 is getting an airing and we're moving away from, scrutinizing Biden into the policy platforms of these two candidates, because when they are aired, they are wildly unpopular positions. And that's what happened in France. In the last week, people got cold feet seeing, oh God, no, this isn't so much about economics. This is really about demagoguery and fascism. And I don't think we're ready to go there. Yeah. And they moved away from that and toward moderation, which is what voters really, really want.
I'm 100% with you on the need to talk about Project 2025 and what it would actually mean for America. I think we're beginning to get there, because just recently Trump finally came out and said, I know nothing about Project 2025. And then, went on to say he disagrees with
parts of it.
I disagree with something I know nothing about, don't know any of the people involved. And I mean, just a bold-faced lie. Like, his own press secretary did a promo for Project 2025. But I want to circle back to JD Vance before I let you go, because he was asked about one of the things that appears in Project 2025, the use of the government to persecute political enemies. And, he, of course, dissembled and said that Biden is doing that, which he absolutely is not. But then Trump took it a step further. And I'd love your reaction to this. He's not just talking about appointing prosecutors to go after the so-called Biden crime family. He reposted a, what do we call bleats on Truth Social? I still call them tweets. I don't know what to refer to them as. I'm not on Truth Social. Truths, right. The irony, right? Calling for a military tribunal televised of Liz Cheney. You and I are both vets. How does that make you feel?
Like I'm living in 1934 Germany.
Yeah.
That's how it makes me feel. And I, growing up as a Jewish kid, just could not fathom how this could happen in a free nation. And we're seeing it right now. And I guess the question is, do we have enough outrage left to pull it together and, look at the last 4 years and realize how great they have been in so many ways for our country, and so many people in our country, and pull ourselves away from the temptation of, just unfettered power, and retribution and anger. And my bet, Ken, is that most people do not want that. They don't want retribution. They don't want, they don't want the government imprisoning people. They don't want the government coming for perceived enemies. Yeah. That's not what we signed up for in America. That's not what we're all about. And you just have to hope that enough people, a lot of it is just going to come down to turnout. I saw a stat today that there are 4 million new 18-year-olds who will be voting this year. You just got to hope that they, understand and they see this stuff, and that this is not the kind of country that they want to grow up in. And that people vote. Yep. Have to vote.
Got to vote. I'm with you. I believe in America, and I do think we're going to make the right choice in November, but we have to keep shouting from the rooftops, from the mountaintops about what's at stake and what's in store for us if Trump returns, if Project 2025 becomes the law of the land, because it doesn't get much worse. Thanks so much, Casey.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ken.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.